G'day, welcome back. Thanks for joining me. I appreciate your time and appreciate the comments you've given me as well. It's always nice to hear that some people find this very interesting and that they are getting something out of it. Today I just wanted to talk a little bit more about out of control, in control. Probably touch on the things that are sort of out of control first of all. It is a topic that I think is something that needs to be talked about because a lot of times life is so busy, as I've sort of said in other conversations, life is so busy and there's so much going on that sometimes everything else takes a life of its own, and we have to sort of try and work through all of that. And those sort of things can have a real impact on our mental health. But one of the things that we do need to sort of look at when we're looking at our own lives and what's going on is to have a look at and see what are we actually controlling, the things that we actually have some sort of ability to control, and what is out of our control. And today I just wanted to talk quickly about what is out of our control, maybe the things that you don't realize that people sort of take for granted, that they think, well, I should be able to do something about that. And I think it's quite easy to talk about these things in a list sort of form, because then it just gives things for people to reference. So here's a sort of a quick take on some of the things that you should sort of consider out of your control. So probably the easiest place to start is the past. There's nothing you can do about the past. The past is gone, and you can't control it. You can maybe control the narrative around it, but as I've seen myself, sometimes even when you try and control the narrative, other people have different views on that narrative as well. So you may think that something's happened one way, somebody else thinks it's happened one way. That can cause conflict, and so therefore it's not ever. So it's something that's really out of your control. Same token, the future is also out of your control. You can direct it, you can do quite a lot in order to sort of come up with a future that you'd like, but in the end there is a lot of things that out of the future that are out of your control, and you just have to look at world events at a macro level to sort of see what things are out of your control straight away. You might be planning a trip, and suddenly things happen and you don't even know that those things are going on. So the future is a little bit in your control. There are things that are comfortable, maybe like work, but even then, as I've just recently realized, that there's some things out even in that sort of space that are out of your control as well. The other thing is other people, and there's quite a lot of things around other people that are out of your control. How they act and what their thoughts are. You can't make them like you. You can't make them do something in a particular way. And so those things are out of your control, and trying to sort of force those can sometimes lead to a lot of conflict as well. So those sort of things are out of your control as well. And sort of even things as simple as, what other people think about you, what their opinions are of you, what they're thinking about you day to day. When you're in a meeting, when you're in a social event, what other people think about how you're acting or something like that. A lot of that is totally out of your control, and you have no ability to monitor that. And so that's why a lot of times it is best to be yourself, so that you are a genuine person, and so that people can relate to you in that sort of state, rather than trying to judge who you are by the different places you are and the different things that you are like. So those things are important, but you've also got to realize that there are things that you just have no control over in terms of how people react to how you're reacting to things. And also probably the last one, and this is probably related to more of a work thing, and sometimes it's a little bit difficult to think about this, is just the effort, the reward for the effort that you put in whatever space it might be, whether that's work, whether that's home life, whether that's at a charity, whether that's just generally giving you of your time or your money. The outcome of that is really not independent on you at all, and there's only so much. So sometimes you might sort of give quite a lot and you don't maybe get the thanks that you thought you would get, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to come back to you in another way, and sometimes in the future. And that's where that sort of expression, sometimes pay it forward. Sometimes you're doing something so that at some stage when you might need some help, something comes back to you at that point in time. So they're just a few of the things that you should sort of really sort of think that are out of your control. There's not much that you can do there, and there's not much that you can actually do about those things. So that's the past, the future, and a lot of things to do with other people. You can't control those things. But there are quite a lot of things that you can control, and I'll talk about that in another meeting and another video as well. I've got meetings on the mind. So hopefully that just gives you a flavour of some of the things that you shouldn't really be sort of worried about. But in a moment, in another video, I'll talk about what things are in your control and that you have some ability to affect. Thanks for listening. I hope you find that interesting, and I'll probably talk about this topic a little bit more because I think it's important to unpack it a little bit more than what we did. So thanks for listening. Hope you enjoyed it, and I'll talk to you again soon.